And we are live, Smash Mouth Sports. I'm your host, as always, Preston Bailey, live in Tampa. With me is Cam Vieira in the secret bunker in New England somewhere. And we're happy and honored to have on John Heath. He does it all for the Denver Broncos Wire, the lead writer, editor, contributor. He does everything. Occasional, maybe bare knuckle fighting against Conor McGregor if something gets crazy out of line over there. You definitely don't want to fight. The news breaking today, Aaron Donald. That has nothing to do with Denver, but I don't know if you saw those photos. That's a little crazy, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Now, isn't that right, John?
Yeah, I don't know all the details. Like, I don't want to make any accusations toward Donald, but the picture sure didn't look good at all.
Yeah, now about an hour ago, I challenged him on Twitter. I said, is this a bad day to challenge Aaron Donald to a fight? But let's get into the Denver Broncos. There's a lot of speculation. We got our mock draft coming up in a week. We got a lot of excitement going on. You guys are picking 9th overall. From all reports that I'm hearing, you guys are rolling with Drew Lock. There's been reports that he's working with Peyton Manning in the offseason. He's working with this guy and this trainer and all these others. He's getting, more and more tutelage. Is that what you're hearing? And if so, are you happy about them rolling with Drew Lock for the future?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because from my perspective, I've seen a lot of buzz about them going after a quarterback, either from trading up to like pick number 4 or 5 somewhere in that area, or just staying put and hoping someone drops to 9. I kind of doubt any of the top 4 guys are going to be there at 9. So I think if they want one of the top quarterbacks, they're going to have to move up. And there's been a lot of buzz and speculation that they will move up. And I think it's one of two things. Either they really are interested in the top QBs and they're planning to move up, or they want everyone to believe they're interested in moving up to like generate some trade value. So if, like, say they're at 9 and maybe Mac Jones is there at 9 or someone wants to move up, they're like, okay, we're taking this guy unless you give us such and such picks or something. So I think they are interested in going for a QB, or they just want everyone to believe they're interested in going. They went to Trey Lance, his first pro day. They're going to his second pro day. Justin Fields, they went to both his pro days. Zach Wilson, they went to his pro day. And obviously Zach Wilson will probably go second overall. So he's not in play. But, like, they're doing their homework on the quarterback prospects. They sent their top scout to Mac Jones pro day. So I definitely think they're looking at QBs. And if it comes to a scenario where, like, I think they're obviously going to have a favorite guy. And just for an example, say Justin Fields is their favorite guy. If, like, the 49ers take him at 3, I don't think they're going to say, okay, well, let's go for our second favorite guy and move up. Like, I think if they can get their guy, they'll do it. But if he's not there, I don't think they're going to settle for second best.
Cam, we're having some technical difficulties there with John. He's going to refresh. I don't know. Maybe his scouts got robbed. Maybe there's a fight with Denver Broncos scouts in the room. I don't know what's going on there, John. Is that right? So, Cam, while he's
sorry for my
go ahead.
technical difficulties, but what I was saying, I just think quarterback is definitely in play. But if the guy that they want is not an option, I think they are comfortable with sticking with Locke for a year. And if it goes good, great. And if it doesn't go good, then next year they can just start over again, draft a quarterback or trade or whatever. And if they don't draft someone, I think they would like trade for a Teddy Bridgewater or trade for like a Gardner Minshew and have him compete with Locke in the summer and just have the best man win kind of thing. But from my perspective, it kind of seems like quarterback's definitely on the table going into the draft.
Interesting. I'm surprised to hear that, because all reports that I've heard is that Drew Lock is working with Peyton Manning in the offseason. He's working with a lot of the quarterback scouts and a lot of the other guys that they're trying to basically, it doesn't mean they're going to have him for 10 more years, but they're at least prepared to come into this season with Drew Lock as their guy, just because 1, 2, and 3 seem to be pretty sewn up with the quarterback. San Fran's kind of the wild card. Maybe they go Mac Jones, speculation. Maybe they change their mind and go Justin Fields. I think there's a lot of people thinking they're probably going to go Justin Fields, even though they claim that they love Mac Jones. There's a lot of people uncertain about that. And like you said, I just don't see that the Broncos have the collateral to really trade up to 4 or 5. And would you really be willing to give up that much for the 4th quarterback in this draft? It sounds like you you would be willing to do that potentially.
Well, I think you can't necessarily say the fourth best quarterback in the draft, because let's just say if the 49ers really like Mac Jones and he's number 3, at least in their mind, then Justin Fields is number 4. If Justin Fields was going into the draft next year, it seems pretty clear that he'd be QB1. And then if they get the QB1 next year, everybody's like, oh, awesome, the Broncos got QB1. So I feel like because there's so many QBs this year, you can't necessarily say, well, because he's fourth best, it's not worth trading up for him, especially because Patrick Mahomes, he wants in QB1. He wants in even QB2. Deshaun Watson, he wants in QB1. I'm not saying that for sure Justin Fields or whoever is QB4 is going to be a sure thing. There's always risk. No matter who you draft, there's going to be risk. But I don't think they'll rule it out just because he's not the top quarterback prospect. I think Trevor Lawrence, everybody knows he's number 1. Zach Wilson, everybody assumes he's number 2. And then it's just, how do teams rank the other guys? If the 49ers truly rate Mac Jones as number 3 and take him, that's going to leave Justin Fields and Trey Lance. There may be a bidding war to trade up to the Falcons spot at number 4 to go get him. And like you said, it is giving up a lot. And I don't know if George Payton would be willing to give up that much. There's been so much speculation. I'll be so glad when the draft actually arrives and we see what he's actually thinking, because George Payton has done such a good job keeping their plans under wraps. The last few years when John Elway was the GM, there was everybody knew about Garrett Bowles. Everybody knew about Jerry Jeudy. It was so easy to predict what the Broncos' plans were. With George Payton, NFL Network saying Broncos may move up. Peter King saying the Broncos may move down. And then obviously they may stay put at 9 is another option. So it really seems like everything's on the table for them. And that's just a sign to me that they're keeping their plans under wraps well.
John, here's my question. It doesn't seem to me that you and Denver Broncos land is that high on Drew Lock. Am I reading that correctly? Is that fair to say that you guys are not sold on him as Denver as a solid quarterback for the future?
Yeah, there's differing opinions. There are some strong Drew Lock supporters who are very vocal. So it can seem like I think it's just because they're vocal. I think most fans and pundits right now agree that he hasn't been good enough. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't take a step forward. But when you have a really good defense and you have so many good receivers, you got a good tight end, a good running back, good offensive line, do you want to give Locke another shot and risk him not being good enough, or do you want to go and get a guy that you think is for sure a quarterback that you think has a higher ceiling than Drew Lock? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But I think in general, most people in Broncos country think that they can definitely upgrade the position. Most people think Locke could take a step, but he hasn't sold. He's not a for sure thing yet by any means.
Do you feel that the Broncos organization, because they've done it a lot, and I don't have the list in front of me, Cam, maybe you could pull that list up, but I saw it the other day on ESPN. You got Paxton, Lynch. I mean, you've just got an abundance of just an arbitrage of quarterbacks, first round, second round, free agent, Case Keenums, all these guys. And besides Peyton Manning, who obviously is an all-time great, it hasn't worked out with any of these guys, regardless of the name. So I know they've got a couple good young receivers, Jeudy and some of the other guys you mentioned, but is it really fair to Drew Lock? Have they really given him the pieces? I don't feel that they have. In your opinion, John?
I think they've given him the pieces.
You do?
It's just my opinion versus your opinion, but I think he has the pieces because Juwan James, their right tackle, he opted out last year. But besides him, I may be looking at it with orange and blue colored glasses, but to me, they have 4 good offensive linemen. Noah Fant, I think you guys would agree Noah Fant's good.
He's a very good tight end.
Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, 2 very good wide receivers. So you got good receivers, you got good tight end, you got a good offensive line, at least in my mind. Melvin Gordon, he's a perfectly competent running back. And then on defense, he's got a solid defensive line. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, good outside linebackers. This year in free agency, you just signed 2 good cornerbacks. And then you got Kareem Jackson as well. But they just extended Justin Simmons, obviously, at safety. So to me, I think he's got a great supporting cast on offense around him. And then on defense, like last year, the defense kept them in a lot of games, and the offense squandered a lot of it. And honestly, it was a lot of Drew Lock's turnovers. He'd turn the ball over deep in their own territory. And like you do that over and over, of course the defense is going to allow some points. So I feel like a lot of the blame for last season falls on him. And like I said before, it doesn't guarantee he can't progress. Like maybe if he gets a second offseason with Pat Shurmur, he'll take a big step forward this year. It's a possibility. But so far, I don't think he's been good enough. And I do think that the supporting cast, I don't think it's been on the supporting cast. I think it is on him.
You know, you bring Cam. Let's get Cam in here. Cam, do you have an opinion on that? And before we get Cam, touch on the pro day. You were telling me something earlier about the pro day. You said that Denver didn't show up, so I'm getting conflicting reports on that. So if you could clarify that for me, because he said that the Denver scouts have been to all the pro days for the main quarterbacks.
Well, maybe I read a list of the teams that sent actual like head coaches or coordinators. I just saw that the Patriots were at Fields Pro Day today, the 49ers, the Falcons. I don't know if the Denver brass, like the coaches were there, like Vic Fangio and the coordinators, but I'm sure the scouts were there. I guess the tweet I saw said that he was just pointing out which teams sent their coaches, not their scouts.
Pat
so go ahead,
Shurmur,
Cam. Yeah.
Pat Shurmur, the Broncos offensive coordinator, he went to Justin Fields' second pro day.
Okay.
So Pat Shurmur has gone to the pro days for Justin Fields and for Trey Lance. And what about Mac Jones?
Trey Lance, the first pro day, I don't think that Pat Shurmur did go to, but George Payton, the GM, did go to. And then Trey Lance has a second pro day coming up, and Shurmur's expected to go to that. And Shurmur, I don't think went to Mac Jones pro day, but they sent their top scout to Mac Jones pro day.
Yeah, and the reason I asked this about Drew Lock is, you know, I'm not the biggest Drew Lock fan, and you make a lot of good points, John. He does have talented receivers, but Judy was a rookie, and Cortland Sutton, I believe that was his second season. So I mean, it's not like this team is like the Bucs that are stacked at every level, or the Chiefs. I mean, they're talented, but the Chiefs are stacked at every. Do they have a Tyreek Hill? Do they have a Kelsey, a Gronk? I mean, are they that good? Is Judy and Sutton very, very good, or are they elite?
Well, to be fair to Locke, I mentioned Cortland Sutton, but he was hurt for most of last year. So that's a fair point to say Sutton, he wasn't even there. And Judy, he had some drop problems. He was a little inconsistent last year. So that's fair. At this very moment, I think it's fair to say Jerry Judy and Cortland Sutton aren't elite quite yet. But even still, if you get Cortland Sutton went to the Pro Bowl and Jerry Judy had 50, 60 something catches, 750 yards, playing in an offense that really struggled a lot. And then Tim Patrick kind of came out of nowhere last year and was a very reliable receiver stepping up with Cortland Sutton out. So I get what you're saying, that they're not like the best of the best. Like it's not the Buccaneers weapons, but I still think it's good enough that he could have been better than he was. And again, I don't mean to just beat down on him. It's very possible. Last year was kind of his first full season as a starter. It was his first full season as a starter. So a lot of quarterbacks like Josh Allen, his second, third year in the NFL, he took a huge leap. So it's possible that Locke could take a leap. So if they don't move up for a quarterback and they stick with Locke, I think the pieces are in place for him to show progress this year. And if he doesn't, then I think obviously next year they would move on. But if they don't move up, I think he will be the guy this year.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, because the reason I saw is they literally showed the other day Josh Allen and Locke's stats are almost identical as far as percentage, yards. I mean, it's as close as you could possibly be, their first, 25 games. So they're as close as they could be. And obviously, Josh Allen, towards the end of his second season, was starting to get it. And then the third season, obviously, skyrocket Pro Bowl or MVP caliber. I'm not saying that Drew Lock could definitely be the MVP in the top 5 conversation, but if you get him a couple more guys, you continue to shore up the line, you continue to maybe draft another young running back, some other third veteran receiver, some other guys, shore up the defense. I mean, it's very possible that they could win, 9 or 10 or more games and shore up the roster. I just don't know if it was me, if I would go out and draft a Mac Jones or Trey Lance to me, it's the same guy. To me, it's the same exact guy. They're still going to be raw. They're still going to be learning. I don't know. Cam, do you want to weigh in on that before we go back to John?
What I want to ask John is about another John Elway. Obviously, he has downsized his role with the organization this year, and it's been reported. Now, I got to ask you, his perception out there as a GM, obviously his perception, his legacy as a quarterback is an all-time great, cemented, of course. But the quarterbacks you guys have gone through since Peyton Manning's retirement, Osweiler, Simeon, Lynch, Osweiler again, Case Keenum, Flacco, Locke, Allen, Driscoll, Rippon, and technically Philip Lindsay since you guys started a game in the Wildcat.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. What's that all about?
Well, how is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time so unable to evaluate the position?
That's like the $1 million question in Denver. I have no idea. I think it might be in part like when you're so good, you want to like kind of look for yourself. And I think he was like trying to find the next John Elway, like the next big, tall rocket arm. Like he tried to do that with Brock Osweiler. It didn't work out. He tried to do that with Paxton Lynch. It didn't work out. And like Joe Flacco, he was getting towards the end of his career, so they probably shouldn't have done that. But I think he was going for like the prototype. And the problem is like just because you have the prototype like body and arm, that doesn't mean you're John Elway. And I think he kind of got hung up on that. And I think he wasn't willing enough to adjust to like a modern NFL game. I think he was just, and this is just like speculation. Like he hasn't said this or anything. I'm just assuming, but I feel like he wasn't willing to adjust to kind of say, okay, quarterbacks can be different now. We can get like, why don't we draft like a Dak Prescott or like drafted Russell Wilson instead of a Brock Osweiler or something like that. Get like a mobile guy in there and do like this style of football that's coming. You're seeing in high school football, you're seeing in college football, and now more and more you're seeing it in pro football. And I think Elway was kind of stuck in his ways and stuck in, this is the way I played QB, and obviously he was really good, so I want to find someone that's just like me, and I don't think it worked out well. And I think it's, for the way he's perceived, like you said, as a player, Broncos hero, Broncos legend, he'll go down in history as an awesome quarterback. As a GM, I think most people will choose to remember the happy times that he signed Peyton Manning, 4 AFC West titles, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and a Super Bowl win. That was awesome. And then after that, it went downhill. But he does get some credit for stepping away. He let George Payton come in, and now Payton's completely running the roster. And then next year, Elway's contract is expiring. I doubt they'll bring him back. So he's kind of gracefully stepping away. Like, they went to the Super Bowl. Manning was great, but since then it hasn't been good enough. So he's acknowledged that, and he's kind of pulling himself away. So I think he deserves some credit for that. And I think most fans, they'll realize that it didn't go well the last few years. But overall, he took them to 2 Super Bowls as a GM. He took them to 5 Super Bowls as a QB. So his legacy overall is not hurt too bad.
Yeah, my theory on that is it's hard. You're right. He's chosen a lot of guys that are similar to him, 6'4", 6'5", bigger athletic guys. I think a lot of people thought Brock Osweiler was going to be great because he had a couple good games back in the day, filled in nice for Peyton Manning. When he missed a couple games, everyone was like, man, he's going to be good. And he was just terrible. He was a dumpster fire. He just wasn't, once he got handed the keys, he just couldn't handle the pressure. I think what it comes down to is it's really hard to be a great quarterback in this league, regardless of who you are, whether you're John Elway or Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick can't get receivers. So it's one of these things that it's hard to get a great quarterback. And really, when you look at the last several great quarterbacks, they've all been in the first round. Josh Allen, Mahomes, Watson, they've all been in the first round. There's only been a couple of these Dak Prescott guys and so forth lately. I mean, most of these guys –
Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins, they're the only two that come out of the 4th round.
Yeah, the last 15, 20 years, you just have not seen – I mean, obviously, you're not going to have a Tom Brady in the 6th round. That just doesn't happen. So, but yeah, so last thing we'll get to we'll get your opinion on. I'm looking at the numbers right here. Yeah, because Cortland Sutton was banged up last year. So Jerry Jeudy was really the number 1 receiver, 856 yards. Noah Fant did have a good year. He does look like a great tight end. I've got a crazy suggestion for you in a wild scenario because I keep hearing Kyle Pitts, Falcons. I keep hearing Kyle Pitts. Dallas is going to go buck wild and trade up for him. If something crazy happens and Pitts falls to 9, could you see a scenario where they take Kyle Pitts and go with 2 great tight ends? Yeah, I think we've lost John, but we appreciate that. let's go to you, Cam. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, if Kyle Pitts falls to 9, I can see Denver. I know Noah Fant's a great tight end, but I mean, that's a amazing tight end combo. I mean, your team last year that won the Super Bowl, you had Gronk and Brake. Neither one of those, Gronk's not all rolling anymore. Neither is Brake.
Yeah.
But they're both sufficient. So to have that double-headed monster at tight end is absolutely a big thing. And if he falls to 9, Denver should absolutely snatch him up.
Yeah, they absolutely should snatch him up for sure. So, yeah. So, anyways, I know John's having some technical issues there, but we definitely appreciate John coming on. So we'll circle back with him later. So, Cam, let me ask you this, because I got to be honest with Denver. I'm looking at it right here. I talked about it briefly, but honestly, Jerry Jeudy was a rookie last year, was he not?
Yes.
It was 856 yards.
Right, 15th overall pick. Correct. That's a good rookie year for a receiver.
That's good for a rookie. But here's my point that everybody's missing. That is good for a rookie, but that's also a very high pick. Your second best guy was Tim Patrick at 742.
Correct.
And then your tight end 673. So, honestly, I'm not really seeing a lot there. Let's try to get John in here one last time here. I think John, he froze up there. John's freezing. So we appreciate John calling in. We try to get him in one last time, but he's just having some technical difficulties. He needs to get into some bare knuckle fights with Frontier or Spectrum or whoever he's got. So, but the point is that we're saying with the guys here, Jerry Jeudy's at 856. Again, top 15 pick. He's a rookie. Okay, so you really can't rely on everything from a rookie. Tim Patrick's an okay receiver. And then your number 3 guy is your tight end, 673. Again, that's a good season. So I don't share the same optimism that he sees. And then Melvin Gordon is an okay running back, a shade under 1,000 yards rushing, 5 or 6 TDs. So I'm not seeing, and I've learned this with writers and guys that work for the team. Oh, no, our team's great because we got this guy and that. Okay, well, yeah. The receivers you got
have good players, right?
The receivers you got are okay. Sutton played 1 game last year, so I'm throwing him out. I don't care what he did.
I expect Jeudy to be very good this year. Make a second year. Jeudy will be very good this year, in my prediction.
Okay, and who's their number 2 receiver?
That's a fair point.
A banged up Sutton. That's what I'm talking about.
They should have signed Juju.
It's like, yeah, they should have signed Juju. By the way, the other thing I was going to get to, but he was
having Marvin Jones or someone.
He was having so many technical problems. Send him a message. Say thanks for coming on, Cam. But the point that I was getting to is the defense was great a couple years ago. It was okay last year, but it wasn't elite. The receivers are not elite. The tight ends are not elite. And the running backs are not elite. And the defense is not that great. What are we talking? And the offensive line is okay, but it's not elite. What they are. What did they win? 4 or 5 games last year?
I think so, yeah.
And one of their games, as you pointed out, they did not have a quarterback.
Correct. Philip Lindsay was the starting quarterback. Yes.
What are we talking about here? Let's not act like this roster is beyond stacked to the hills. I'm going to be nice and respectful, but let's be honest about this, okay? My team, the Buccaneers, are stacked to the gills on both sides of the ball. Arguably best O-line, arguably best D-line, okay?
There's no arguably. It is.
Right. And great receivers.
The only O-line might be better as Cleveland.
Great receivers, great tight ends, great defense. We're stacked at every level. And you're like, okay, well, the Bucs are the champs. Let's not use it. Okay, fine. What I was going to get to was let's look at the Chiefs.
He did say he just mentioned me. He did say he would take Pitts at 9 if he's there.
He did say that. Okay, because I thought I was hearing no. And the thing that surprised me, the most was you were telling me earlier, a couple other people were telling me on Twitter that, and I haven't, none of the mock drafts I've seen the Broncos either trading up.
No one has Denver taking a quarterback.
Nobody has Denver. It's not just he.
Piper, McShay, Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks. No one hasn't taken a quarterback.
I've seen 20 mock drafts. I've not seen Trey. You know what I saw yesterday? I saw Mel Kiper say the Patriots were going to trade to 10
for Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is what I've seen.
Oh, I'd be ecstatic.
Now, you can make an argument with Denver. Here's my theory. My theory is this. We have this year, more than any year that I've ever seen, we are in panic mode. I've never seen more teams in panic mode than this year. What does panic mode mean? Panic mode means trading 3 first-round draft picks if you're San Francisco for Mac Jones. That's what that means.
How about Miami moving down to 12, moving back up to 6?
Panic.
And now there's reports that they might move back up to 4 now.
Look, I can see the Patriots, if the Patriots can go from 15 to 9 or 15 to 10
right,
and get just Fields,
a second-round pick.
That's fine if you trade us, because the Patriots, Justin Fields, in many people's mind, looks to be very good. And he did bring up a good point. Fields would be the number 1 overall pick next year, without a doubt.
Well, he was the consensus number 2 guy in the draft for years. He's only fallen off in the last couple of months.
And Mac Jones, I believe Mac Jones is a junior, is he not?
Yes.
He would also be the number 1 pick in next year's draft.
Yes.
Not because he's so great.
Trey Lance would be.
Nah, maybe not Trey Lance. They'd probably pick like an offensive tackle or a defensive end, but maybe with Trey Lance. But
in this era, in
the era, maybe. But
yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Right. The point, and I know everybody loves Zach Wilson and everybody loves Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, those 2 guys are elite. I want to bring this up too, and let's get back to here's what I'm saying. So to get back, what I'm saying is we all agree Patrick Mahomes is elite.
Of course.
We all agree, right?
Absolutely.
How elite was he? That's why when people are like, oh, well, we've got Cortland Sutton and this guy and A.J. McGilligan. Okay, great. Okay, you got this guy and Stumpy Reigns. Okay, we all agree Patrick Mahomes is an all-world MVP caliber player.
He's the best quarterback in the league.
Well, he was. He's second best. But the point is he's a great player. How well did he do in the Super Bowl with a beat-up offensive line?
Horrible. It was the worst game of his career.
Tyreek Hill getting jammed to the line, not running scot-free, and Travis Kelce getting bottled up by Devin White, Levante David. How well did he play?
It's the only game in his career he never had the lead. The only game in his career.
Right. So when I'm talking about, here's what I wanted to get to. I do like Drew Lock more this year than I did the year before. He's got a little bit of potential. So I think I'm all for cutting your losses, as you know, but I think way too many experts are cutting the losses on Drew Lock way too quickly. Especially when I see
people expected more from him last year. I think is what.
Because Colin Cowherd said he was going to be his sleeper MVP. I didn't expect any. I got exactly what I expected from Drew Lock last year. They don't have a great offensive line. They don't have great running backs. They don't have great receivers. And Noah Fant is an okay tight end. He's pretty good. He's not. New England's got 2 tight ends better than Noah Fant. So this is what I'm talking about.
Colin Cowherd was doing that off of extremely flawed logic. His logic was, in recent years, a quarterback in their second season made a big jump for MVP. It was Mahomes a couple of years ago and Jackson the year after that. If I was thinking by that logic, I would have picked Kyler Murray before I would have taken Drew Lock in that argument. But look, I thought he was going to be better last year. He wasn't. He deserves one more year. You used a second-round pick on him. You gave him 10 games on the bench before he came in after Joe Flacco. You're going to give him one more year to see what he can do. And then if he's bad this year, then you move on. If you want,
I believe he was 4-1-2. Let's see, 1-2. Yeah, he was 4-9 last year, which is obviously not great. I mean, he talked about
like either 4-2 or 5-2 once he took over the year before.
He talked about interceptions.
Oh, his turnovers were bad.
Well, okay, so this is okay. Calm down. You're hysteric. He was hysteric. He threw 15 interceptions. That is not bad. It's not great, but
it's not 30.
Look, here is what I want to say. If I were to defend Drew Lock here, okay, if I put his roster, and I'm talking about if I put the Denver Broncos, if I put Patrick Mahomes on this exact team, they would not win that many more games. That is my point. Correct. My point is if I traded Patrick Mahomes today to Denver, okay, Kansas City would still operate at a very high level with Drew Lock. That is my point. Would they win 14 or 15 games? No, probably not. But they'd still operate at an 11, 12 win. They would operate at a very high level. Patrick Mahomes and this Denver roster would not operate at a high level.
I 100% agree.
Because Melvin Gordon and a young rookie in Jerry Jeudy and a beat-up Sutton is not a murderer's row. It isn't. In an old Von Miller.
No, it's not. No, you're
And a
100%
Bradley
right.
Chubb who's solid but has not reached the elite level that he needed to be.
No, I agree. Bradley Chubb's been a disappointment thus far. Everyone thought he was going to be this house wrecker, and he's not that player.
Right. And again, he's solid, but again, everybody's talking about
into that draft. You saying he was the best player in the draft?
I don't know. Let's take a breath. Okay, no. You're trying to make an. You're trying to use me to make your argument, and you're wrong as usual. Let's listen because you're wrong and you're sounding terrible. The point is, they should have signed Myles Garrett. I'm talking about Denver here.
Correct.
So no. By the way, you're giving all kinds of wrong information here. So let's bring this up about your boy Chubb over here
today. Who went to Cleveland?
Say that again.
Should Denver have signed Jadeveon Clowney today, who went to Cleveland?
Yeah, that's what I was. Who did I say? Myles Garrett.
You said Myles Garrett.
I was thinking about Myles Garrett. I meant Jadeveon Clowney.
Well, I mean, you thought now that Clowney and Garrett are going to be together, that's going to be
why didn't Denver sign Jadeveon Clowney? Is my question.
I don't think they had a lot of cap space.
Okay.
They haven't. I mean,
look up while you're giving wrong stats. Why don't you look up what he signed for, Jadeveon Clowney?
I know it was a 1-year deal. Let's see how much it was for.
Because I was hearing rumors that it was going to be a bargain.
Okay, it was a 1-year deal for $8 million, which he can gain $5 million more in incentives.
Yeah. By the way, Bradley Chubb's 7.5 sacks, which is actually pretty good. So it's not.
No, it's good, but he's not the house record Chandler Jones, Von Miller everyone thought he was going to be.
It takes time. Who does he have on the other side?
A beat up Von Miller.
People have a hard time with contextual arguments. They get too much fanboy, and that's why he's like, "Oh, it's so great." No, the Denver's not that great. They are what? No, they're not that great. Denver's not going to be that great next year. Neither is Carolina. Neither is Arizona. Neither is a lot of these other guys that we've entered that we like.
Denver's going to be the worst team in that division. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to be number 1. The Chargers are up and coming with Herbert, and the Raiders will be solid. The Denver's going to be the worst team in that division.
Denver's by far the worst team in the division. So here's my point. If I put Patrick Mahomes, so everyone's like, it's all Drew Lock's fault. We've got a stacked roster to the – we do. We do. So it's all – people love this all or nothing. You do it. He does. Everybody's doing it. Oh, Bradley Chubb sucks. He's a butt. No, Bradley Chubb is fine. He's an 8 or 9 sack guy, okay? The point is this Denver team on defense got beat up because teams ran on them because they couldn't keep a lead. They couldn't manage the game properly. It's not all Drew Lock. The point is, if I put Drew Lock on Tampa Bay, boy, Drew Lock got really smart all of a sudden, figuring out how to throw the ball to Gronk and O.J. Howard and Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette running the ball. Boy, he got really smart, didn't he? With Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, Drew Lock really got smart, didn't he? Wow.
Put him on the Browns, give him OBJ and Jarvis Landry, right?
If you're not smart enough to see the fact that Josh Allen played decent his second season towards the last 8 games, he played very good. This year, he took it to another level. Now, Sam Darnold, you gave him 3 years. He was up and down and all that. You know what? If it was me with the Jets, I wouldn't have given up on Sam Darnold personally.
I know. You said that.
I would have drafted him 3rd overall. You've given up so much collateral for Sam Darnold.
No, it's true.
Why not just try to trade down a couple spots? You could have got 3 first-round draft picks from San Fran. Take Sam Darnold, load up your O-line, draft a running back late in the first round, have a power running game, try to win 8 or 9 games, and get back in the mix. I don't understand why this is so hard. I really don't.
The Jets are stupid.
I mean, and I hear from all these fans, oh, we're going to draft Trey Lance and we're going to draft Justin Fields. Okay, let's all agree that Trevor Lawrence is the best player in this draft. Can we agree to that?
He's the best quarterback and the best player by far.
Okay, best quarterback. He checks every box. Okay. And the Jacksonville guy we had on was like, oh, no, they don't have a good offensive line. They don't have good running backs. They don't have good receivers. They've got a running back that looks solid, that put up a great fantasy season on a last place team. Great. And so does Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker is a very good receiver, but Devontae Parker is going to get 1,200 yards for crappy Miami or even average Miami. He's the guy that's going to put up a lot of yards. That happens all the time.
No, I agree. Empty stats. But you know what this is. Everyone overrates their own players, man. Everyone. It doesn't matter. you can be the most objective person in the world. You're still going to overrate the guys you root for. Everyone does it. Everyone's guilty of it.
Of course.
How much does Skip Bayless talk us our faces off about CeeDee Lamb? Is CeeDee Lamb all world by any means? He's a good receiver. He's not great.
Right. Getting all kinds of crazy messages. Yes, CeeDee Lamb is fun. Now, here is the point to get back to talk about. So, no, my point is with Denver, and by the way, and I want to say this about the quarterback thing. He's drafted 15 quarterbacks. He's all these guys. Okay, it's hard to develop quarterbacks.
It is.
Let's be real. Forget the Mahomes and forget the MVP guys. Jared Goff and Carson Wentz were both top 2 picks in the same draft.
And they both just get traded.
They have underperformed, in my opinion. They've underperformed.
And credit to you. You said both of those contracts were dumb when they got them.
Right. They were dumb and they were panicky. I would much prefer – we've seen the business model. The 2 best teams in the league have the 2 business models you go to. You get lucky with Patrick Mahomes and draft a guy, top 10, 15 overall, Allen, Mahomes, Watson, etc. You get lucky with that. You load up the roster for 5 years. You swing for the hills. The other way you do it, the Bucs strategy. Load up O-line, load up D-line, just load up everywhere and get
Tom
a veteran,
Brady's a free agent, right?
Proven Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. You get an all-time elite guy on the back 9, on the back 2 or 3 holes. That is the business model, right? Now your internet's going on. I'm going to start beating people there. What's wrong with you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, well, I heard a terrible echo there. So the point I'm saying is, no, sorry to say this about Denver, with all due respect, no, this team is not great. So I do think they should take – I don't think this roster is great. In fact, let's be objective. They're 4th in the division.
That's why this is a perfect place for Trey Lance. This is a perfect place for Trey Lance.
No, it isn't. You didn't hear a word I just said. No, you're wrong. No, I'm not going to let you finish because you're wrong. You didn't hear a word I just said. Okay, go ahead and tell everybody how dumb you are. Go ahead.
Because he's not going to play. He's in a red shirt. I told you, he will be this year's Jordan Love. He's not going to see the field this year. So, build up your roster.
This is why you're having a hard time. This is a horrible take. You obviously missed everything I just said.
So, build up your roster. Have him sit on the bench for 2 years.
You're not building up your roster. You're having a hard time. You are failing like these other teams are general managers. You're failing the same way. Drafting Trey Lance is not loading up your roster. You totally miss what I'm saying. Drafting Trey Lance is the opposite of loading up your roster. You made the same mistake a year ago with congratulating Green Bay with Jordan Love.
Are there 6 more rounds?
You can't be this dumb. You're making the same mistake. Trey Lance is your Jordan Love. You're making the same mistake that the Green Bay made a year ago. Let me explain something to you. When you're drafting a guy 9th overall, you're not drafting a guy from a 1AA school that's played 17 games. That's redshirting. That is not loading up your – what I'm talking about is loading up O-line, loading up D-line, loading up – or a tight end, a guy that could come in right away as an impact position. Then these little Mickey Mouse receivers you got with 2 good tight ends, Pitts and Fant, that does change your roster. Yes.
It does.
So, no, this is my point. Oh, we're going to hit on every rounds 2 through 7. We're going to draft 6 Pro Bowlers. No, you're not. This is the point. The point is, if you draft a quarterback – in the first round, specifically the top 10 to 15 are picks, you're not only are you betting the season, you're betting your job on that guy.
The future.
You're betting your job.
When
you're drafting a quarterback, you're saying if I'm not right in 2 or 3 years, this team is going to suck. You're betting your job. You're betting your life on this guy.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you, that's a dumb business model.
I agree. If whoever the 49ers draft doesn't pan out, John Lynch is going to lose his job because of it. Just like the Bears.
I'll tell you who will lose his job. Kyle Shanahan's definitely going to lose his job. I'll tell you that.
He's the one who doesn't want Jimmy G. Correct.
Again, I go back to if I'm San Fran, why am I giving up? Why am I giving up Jimmy G? I understand the injury. I get all that. Okay, let's stop acting like this 49ers team is the 49ers from the 80s. Okay, they've done a good job the last couple of years.
You're not the 49ers of 2 years ago.
Right. But my point is this. If you're Jimmy G, if you're the four, why not bring back Jimmy G, load up O-line? Look, I don't care what you do at quarterback, any team. If you load up an O-line and D-line, you can always find a quarterback on a bar. Let me ask you this question. Kirk Cousins, are you going to give up 4 first-round draft picks for Kirk Cousins?
No.
Let me newsflash. If I put Kirk Cousins on Kansas City, if I put Kirk Cousins on Tampa Bay, he would be phenomenal.
I agree. And to your point with the rookie, just look at the last few Super Bowls. Every
Dak
Super Bowl.
Prescott would be phenomenal. Lamar, all these guys on those 2 rosters would be phenomenal.
Correct. All you need to know, the last 4 Super Bowls have contained a quarterback that was either making rookie or backup money. This past Super Bowl was Mahomes. It was the last year of his rookie deal. The Super Bowl 4 was Mahomes again. Before that, it was Goff. And before that, it was Nick Foles. The last 4 Super Bowls have featured a team with a quarterback on either rookie or backup money.
Right. So it goes back to my point to go further, and then we're going to wrap this up. If I was the Jets, I've got Mekhi Becton, who's the size of a refrigerator. I could draft Penei. I coid have drafted Penei Sewell, and you know what else I could have drafted? I could have drafted Penei Sewell, or I could have drafted Slater, who some say is very comparable to Sewell. I could have traded down 5, 6, 7 and drafted either one of those guys. Worst case scenario, I get the other guy and 3 first-round draft picks. That's how you build a winning roster. It is so arrogant, and I get so angry when I hear, kind of like what you said, well, we've got 6 other rounds. Oh, okay. So you're telling me you're going to nail whatever position we're going to draft a guard in the 2nd round. Okay, he's going to be a Pro Bowler. We're going to draft a running back in the 3rd round. Okay, he's going to be a 10-time Pro Bowler. We're going to draft a defensive end in the 4th round. He's going to be an 8-time Pro Bowler. Maybe we'll slip in the 5th round. We'll get a 2nd receiver who's a 900-yard receiver for 8 years straight and is a bubble Pro Bowler. Okay, we're going to nail that. Round 6, we're going to get a good specialist edge rusher that's 8 or 9 sacks. Oh, yeah, in round 7, we're going to get a great dominant hybrid blocking fullback, blocking tight end who's just going to bang open wide open holes. No, that is not going to happen at all.
So before we go, I want to ask one last question before we go.
Before I smash this cup. Smash Mouth Sports is about to start smashing cups.
The reports are swirling on Aaron Rodgers. You sent me the clip a few days ago saying that Stephen A. Smith saying that the Packers are disrespecting him, and they are. It certainly feels, by all accounts, that this will be Aaron Rodgers' last year in Green Bay, pending a miraculous season in which he wins the league MVP and they win the Super Bowl. Next offseason, how much would you, I'm saying you as a team that needs a quarterback, give up for a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers who you have to pay at the top of the market?
I'm not – you've got this – some of these guys like top of the market. Look, first of all, whatever salary Aaron Rodgers wanted, okay, so let's say after this year, right?
Yeah, this is after this year. He's playing in Green Bay this year. This is all going to happen next year.
Okay. I would be willing to give up a first-round draft pick and $40 million plus, whatever you need.
1 first-round pick, yes. I'm not giving up 2, though, not for a 40.
No, because you're talking about the Bucs going to be a top team, so they're going to be picks 27 through 32. So you're talking about, would I give up the 29th or 30th or 31st overall pick for Aaron Rodgers? Yes. For 3 years of Aaron Rodgers, he plays elite for 2, and maybe the 3rd year he plays okay. Yes, of course, because this is why when people, it's like we talk to these other writers, and they're all great guys, but they do not have a fundamental understanding of the draft. We played this game before. Oh, I want Trey Lance. Oh, I want Justin Fields. Okay, great.
What is the highest you would draft Trey Lance?
The highest that I would draft Trey Lance would be in the mid to late 20s, 25 or later. Okay. I do not think – I would rather have the 3rd best offensive lineman, the 3rd best defensive end, the 3rd best D tackle, than the 5th or 6th best quarterback. With the thing with quarterbacks, you got 5 guys that come out every year. Only 2 of them are going to be good.
Right. Someone's going to be Josh Rosen.
Yes. And people, you're too young to remember. There was Achilles Smith years ago. There was Tim Couch, RG3. Okay.
Mark Sanchez,
Blaine Gabbert, Vince Young, all these guys. And guess what? Let's end it here on an explosive note, because everybody keeps talking about Deshaun Watson. Let's say you get lucky enough and you draft a Deshaun Watson as far as talent. And then 3 years later, he has some off-the-field assault problems. He is one of the hits.
He is.
And now his career is over. So I believe we're 4 years into this, his career is over.
In all likelihood, yep, I agree.
His career is over.
He's probably never going to play again.
He is in bad shape, and his lawyer and his team, they better get it together.
Never mind football. He has to worry about jail.
Right. So just keep that in mind. But no, O-line, D-line. My point is, load up your roster, and guess what? Patrick Mahomes, he might be on both boards. Deshaun Watson's on both boards. He's on the huge success board, and he's on the huge bust board. Because you don't give a guy $200 million and draft him 10th or 11th or 12th overall, and then he fails you with all his off-the-field problems.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, that was a huge success so far for 3 years.
Correct.
He's also been banged up multiple times.
3 times.
I do not believe, personally, that his style, his reckless style to get open, to let time, that I don't believe it can last. And that we're going to find out. I was like, $500 million, what a bargain. Okay, all right. Yeah.
He's already restructured.
Yeah, he's already restructured. So all I'm saying, and I haven't seen the Chiefs' schedule. All I'm saying,
I'll pull it up right now. We don't know when, but we know who their opponents are. I'll pull it up right now.
All I know is if they play Pittsburgh, if they play Baltimore, they play Cleveland, if they play some tough defense, the Saints and these other teams, and he has games where he gets sacked 4 and 5 and 6 times, and they, for some reason, they drafted a 5'7", 190-pound running back, which I can't figure out for the life of me why you draft a little third down scat back. I can't figure that out for anything.
No, I agree.
And Andy Reid does not protect his quarterbacks. He doesn't do it. He's never done it.
Okay, so they have 9 home games and 8 away games.
Right.
So here are their home games, the Chiefs. We don't know when they're playing them yet, but we just know the opponents. Obviously, their division, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders.
And by the way, before you bring this up, you said, I said Bradley Chubb's the best guy. Okay, we're going to have to go. We're going to have to go in the show with going back to that draft. But go ahead.
Okay. Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. Obviously, the 3 divisional opponents are their 3 home games. Then
just give me I don't need home or away. Just give me the top teams.
Then they get the Steelers, the Browns, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Giants, and Packers. That's their home slate.
Those are all tough games except for the Giants.
Then their away slate is once again their division: Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, Baltimore, Cincinnati, WFT,
right,
Philly, and Tennessee.
Tennessee is tough. Washington is tough. And what was the other team? Tennessee?
Yes.
Tennessee. That's a tough schedule.
And Baltimore.
And it's a 17-game schedule.
It is. The Baltimore game, it does feel like the Chiefs are the one team that can contain Lamar Jackson in the regular season.
I mean, you can say that. I mean, okay. But Lamar Jackson, look, Baltimore's got a real deal. Okay, how good is Mahomes going to be if he gets knocked out by Baltimore?
Not good at all. He got knocked out by the Browns.
And people say the Browns okay. Another thing, the Cleveland Browns have a better roster than Denver. What are we talking about here, guys?
By far.
The Browns are loaded.
The Browns are one of the most loaded teams in the league.
Right. They absolutely are. By the way, Bradley Chubb, the guy that I liked, got 12 sacks his rookie season.
Correct.
And he got 7.5 last season. So we're going to go to 2018 real quick, and here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to end the show, because I love the draft talk. Nobody's going to try to throw around their whatever thinking they're so high and mighty, because I'm going to give you facts, whether you like it or not. My team is the best team, and I'm also glad we have Tom Brady.
Why wouldn't you be?
Because the year before we had the same core roster. Yes, we added pieces. The same core roster with Jameis Winston. We won 7 games.
And he threw 30 interceptions.
Right. You had to throw that last part in there. Stay with me here. Okay. Bradley Chubb, right?
Yeah, I believe he was the 5th pick in this draft.
Okay. Baker Mayfield. All right. We'll go with that. Number 2 pick is Saquon Barkley. Number 3 pick is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was the 3rd overall pick, the 2nd quarterback taken.
He's already been traded.
I'm asking you right now, would the Jets rather have Bradley Chubb or Sam Darnold today?
Bradley Chubb.
Okay. Would you rather have Saquon Barkley today or Sam Darnold, who you just traded?
Saquon Barkley.
All right, let's check a couple more guys here. Denzel Ward.
Great corner.
Great corner or Sam Darnold.
Denzel Ward.
Quentin Nelson.
Oh,
or
Quentin
Sam.
Nelson. He's the best offensive lineman in the league.
Right. Okay, and all of those guys I just mentioned.
All went after Sam Darnold.
Or Josh Rosen.
Oh, all of those guys combined over Josh.
Right.
Josh Rosen's on what, his 4th team already? No.
Right. So let's be real. And even Lamar Jackson, who's further down on the list, he has done a great job.
He's in his own category.
With his own skills. He is, to me,
he's unique.
And this is a positive for Justin Fields. This is why I like Justin Fields, because I like Lamar Jackson. I was when he was coming out, Bill Polian said, "Oh, he's a receiver. He's a gadget. He's not that cerebral." And I was like, the game was changing, but I was like, I want to see how Lamar Jackson does, because it's true. He's not as Andrew Luck, Tom Brady. He's not as traditional as those guys, but he had a different element. So what I'm saying about Justin Fields is he's getting blasted because of his 2nd read and his 3rd read and all the reads. Here is my point with Fields. The fact that Lamar Jackson has been as great as he has, and Justin Fields is every bit the athlete Lamar Jackson is, and he's a better passer.
I agree. No, trust me. If Justin Fields, if Mel Kiper's right, if the Patriots move up for Justin Fields, I'm going to be the happiest man in Tampa. You
should be happy, because there were rumors that your team wanted Lamar Jackson.
Oh, they did. Josh McDaniels worked him out twice.
And I will tell you this right now.
They should have taken him.
Justin Fields, you're right. If let's look at Lamar Jackson. If he was on the Patriots, if you traded right now Lamar Jackson, you said we're going to give you a 1st and a 3rd. I know it would take more, but I'm just throwing that at the 1st and a 3rd to go to New England. That team would be unbelievable, because with their
2nd team in the AFC behind the Chiefs.
They've got 2 great tight ends, and I think they'd be better than the Chiefs, honestly, because with their tight ends, with their new receivers, and look,
and the players they've added on defense.
Too many times, and everybody's a prisoner of the moment. Too many times, well, we're blaming Drew Lock because Denver sucks. Yep, you're right. It's all Drew Lock. None of the other guys matter. You're right. And you know what? I'm going to defend Lamar Jackson, because they do not have any elite receivers. I'm sure we're going to talk to the Ravens Wire.com, and he's going to tell me how great Hollywood Brown is and how great this guy is, and Willie Snead and this and this. No,
well, they lost to get Juju. Juju turned them down. Right.
They lost their 2nd tight end, which was a big loss. They did not. The Baltimore does not have a number 1 receiver. No, Hollywood Brown is fine, but he's a gadget guy.
And do you think Lamar Jackson's getting the Michael Vick treatment where receivers aren't going to go?
Yes, he is getting the Michael Vick treatment. Receivers do not want to play. Look, receivers do not want to play. Juju is not going to take a 1-year deal for Baltimore.
Correct.
Baltimore, everybody knows Baltimore is going to be the best running team in the league. They're going to get 100 from Lamar Jackson. They're going to get 80 from their 2nd running back, and they're going to get 20 or 30 from randoms. Okay? They're going to get close to 200 yards a game. And they're not going to throw for – this team is not going to throw for 300 yards a game. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
And last year proved, once teams stacked the box and adjusted accordingly, Lamar Jackson in certain situations can be contained or limited in certain situations.
You're right. It's true.
So that's the point. O-line, D-line, and I'm just going to leave it at this before we wrap this up. We went a little long, but that's what happens when you start talking the draft. And when people start talking crazy, and when people try to say that I said something I didn't say, and I stand by. But the point is this. You and all the other scouts and all the other writers' philosophy of every year we're just going to take top 5, top 10 picks. We're just going to take 4 quarterbacks every top 10. Every year, we're going to take 4 quarterbacks in the top 10 every year. You're rolling the dice. You don't know. The first quarterback, most likely we know. Most likely he's going to be good. Guess what? Some people love Baker. Some people hate Baker. Baker has a playoff win.
Correct.
But guess what? Josh Allen is substantially better than Baker Mayfield.
Oh, Josh Allen was the second best quarterback in the. He was better than Mahomes last year. He was the second best quarterback in the league last year.
Right. Exactly. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this out to the ether. Let's tweet it out there. See ya.
See ya.